This is Eric with Muse Kinetics. Today I'm going to show you how to adjust the on and off threshold settings of your SoftStep. Now we've got a SoftStep 3 here. This is with the new Muse Kinetics branding. It's the same as the SoftStep 3 that had the Keith McMillen branding on it. This guide will help you with SoftStep 3, SoftStep 2, or SoftStep 1 from the old Keith McMillen products. So what I'm going to show you is we've got this problem with key number 2 where it's staying on. And because I have it on single key mode, you can't even press any other keys because this key is being pressed currently. It's not even being released. So why is that happening? Well, we have this software here. It's a little visualizer, and I'll have a link to it in the comments of this video if you want to check this out. But we can go to tether mode and put it into live mode. And what you'll see is the north sensor of the nav key is floating between 0 and 10. And the south sensor of the 2 key is floating around 15, right? Why is this? Is this defective? Is it broken? It's not. It's totally normal for our soft fabric to have some slight variation. The variation is mostly accounted for at the factory, but you know, the environment that this is in, the silicone can swell or contract based off of the humidity or the temperature in the room. Altitude can sometimes affect how the sensors pick up. And that's because these are analog sensors. They're very sensitive, and that's how we get such a dynamic, you know, pressure response out of them. But of course, you know, this is causing us problems, right? This isn't good. So if we go into the advanced editor, you can go to the settings tab, and you'll notice a few things. First, I have sensor response. It's set to maximum. So what that means is it is taking whichever of the 4 sensors is greatest, and that's the value for pressure, for on, you know, sensing on, whether it's on or off. If I was to set this to average, then it would average the 4 values. So it would be 14 divided by 4. So this would be a value of, you know, something close to like a 3. But in any case, regardless of how you're using that, we have this other tab called keys. And here in keys, we have, you know, some speed for the incrementing and decrementing, but then we have this on threshold and off threshold. And it's not per sensor, it's per the key. So if we look at key number 2 right now, we're in maximum. So it thinks there's a value of 14, and our on threshold is 5, meaning that the key turns on if the value is greater than 5. And it won't turn off until it drops below the off threshold of 4. And that's why this key is actually on right now. It's being held. If I put this back in regular mode, what you'll see is, again, if I press this, it stays on. It's still activated. So the way we can change that is I can go to key 2, and for on threshold, I'm going to set it to 20. And you'll see it can turn off, but it may still activate depending on where that off threshold is. See, there it goes. It's still on. So I'm going to set the off threshold to something like 18, right? And now that key only turns on when I press it. It's the same for these other keys now. You'll notice I have a key lockout so that you can't activate another key. And again, if I lower that on threshold to 5 and the off threshold to 4, and I press that key, it stays on, right? So all you need to do, you could set all of these to a good default value. And one thing you'll notice about our sensors, if I put this back in live mode, is if I press that key, you know, I can get it all the way up to, with my finger, to like 200, right? So the maximum value is 255. When you're stepping on this with your feet, it's going to be much easier to hit that 255. And you could even, in global settings, you know, adjust the gain, which I have at the default of 1 right now. So we actually have this reset to default button here in the latest editor. And if you press this, it sets it to 50 and 45. And so now if I put this back in normal mode, and I press these keys, now they only activate when I want them to activate. And you could even put this on average, and then if you're pressing all 4 sensors, then that's what it takes to get above the on threshold. And if I just do this with my finger a little bit, it may not activate on the 1 sensor because that value is being divided by 4. But if I do that on all of these, see, so it's not abnormal. Sometimes you might have a key that's resting at a very high value. It might be resting at 60. That's not defective. It's totally normal. You could set this on threshold to 100. You could set it to 120. You'll still have the full range of the sensor. So it'll start where that on threshold is and go all the way up to 255. So you've still got plenty of data to get your full MIDI pressure message. If I put this on pressure, you'll see with these, just with my fingers, I can get this to half value here, right? So don't be afraid to set this on threshold really high. That'll help you, make sure that the keys only activate when you want them to. And then the calibration will take place from that on threshold. So yeah, that's how you adjust these settings. And hopefully that'll help you dial in the exact settings for how you're using your SoftStep. If you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out through our support site or through social media. Thank you so much.